at the amount ewo fidue mu ha sei sanso so na the WhatsApp number beto screen so eno so betimi do adwenkyere esi so eba be kansa na kinkan nyina e de ama me di nsi Sammy Hontor eni me di betima from the captain of the dreship from Igbe Mafia mejo so from Sammy Hontor eno so mejo so na me ka won so wo hwedwumadi live on original TV no sanso na live on original FM 91.9 won so tie nka Facebook no so streaming live e wo hodom na ene yen hyasie muru nsuo ntam ne yani nya kokko na last week emisa be di office of the special prosecutor omo dwumadi omodi ye ho komo kakra na Ghana ha ase ye yama sebi onya atwom no ya fayen dodo ase enkrofo bi pese omo kire se omo wa kokoduro but omo kokoduro no ene se omo timi ka enkrofo fi asem nemo me yo omo ankasa fi asem de ye omo ntumi nka. That's one thing amahu about Ghanaians. Yesi o ne kukodu we de ne kukodu wotimi ka obi fi asem nemo de ti ono ankasa ne hwena no ontumi nka nanso Bible kra se ye nyi ani asem potra ansa ne akwa koyi obi de. Last week a special prosecutor here in a press conference kire the state of Kpebu extradition investigation ni process ni ba bia akwa koduru nipa ba akwa obeyi ano de di nkan lawyer Martin Kpebu senka so wa betime nya ne picture na nka mo de ato nche ama me lawyer Martin Kpebu say wama special prosecutor few days the special prosecutor am confiscate anase wan freeze kenofriata access na japade awo ewo Ghana ono special ono Martin Kpebu no ebe petition President Mahama for the removal of the special prosecutor yerakisi ejaben obe petition amana ameyeyi no oka ho nsempi ensembebre no kan ye ofa obeti se yewra domlevo a ono so ye former auditor general ono kra de wose SML no special prosecutor nkrofo na wa implicate omo no sumbe ya ombie net num ntimi nche nkrofo akese ni nyina ye fair comment e de ekọ nemom ade ba ko Ghana for say ni say yewra Martin Kpebu no doubt say open lawyers are omo ye bold omo timi kasa ye under Akufo-Addo government. They spoke against the ills of Akufo-Addo government. Lawyer Martin Kpebu oka ho bi pa ye betimi aka se wo akukudro because na nyo bia na under Akufo-Addo wotimi criticize Akufo-Addo government. Maame Cecilia brother pasem ba ye wotimi kana nimu a ni shia court kra mo Cecilia brother pa busa say oh bone benam dia ye wa o kana sa but still very objective. But you see to whom much is given, much is expected. Mo be kan ya de bia for some few weeks near about 3 weeks to almost a month, there's so much fire on the office of the special prosecutor. And for a demanding accountability. And Free said they are not seeing much from the office of the special prosecutor. Especially at these days are MPP scandals all over and the oral report all over no and for expecting more from office of the special prosecutor. Yes, I want to see more from the office of the special prosecutor. But like I said, to whom much is given, much is expected. Yet Ghana ha, oral committee, yera Okudjota Blakwa, NOA Minister for Foreign Affairs. Yera Domlevo, Auditor General former. Yera Martin Kpebu, wo na also legal practitioner, private legal practitioner. Yera Raymond Archer ene woye peni kwantre for oda yoku ena yera Kofi Boache ene oko omampeni atran ya director of operations ono ene da honum sam penyufo nu we na eda ora ano operation recover all loot motna ase mo hwehwemu egada mo evidences egada mo exhibit eni bibia mo hia no mo de koma nipa bi nipa be na mo de ma no mo de kokoma Attorney General Yera Dominic Anyene ena ora for modem report almost over 2,000 mo born said do so boa mo ade ena mo de koma Yera Attorney General. Maun say Yera Kpebu kasa we demanding more from the Office of Special Prosecutor. Fine, where you and you have that right. But me be samo Yera Kpebu and co. Oral report na mode command Attorney General no. Mode command no how many months in ye? Na oral report no emudu do saying an Attorney General almost 8 months or 9 months after someone handing over my report to the man Attorney General no. How many of these cases are mode ma o no? Emudu do say no mo ye prosecution. So far as I'm concerned, Okofa National Service Secretariat scandal enka ora ho. National Service Secretariat issue no the fourth estate investigations and I the buyer. Okofa ebiti say wuntumi case a yokofo kudam no enye part of the ora enka ho. Okofa National Service enka ho. So far cases are Attorney General office no prosecute no, none of them eneka oral for reporter mo de koye ho. None of them eneka oral reporter mo de koye ho. Mo submit some oral report few weeks or few days after say appointed Yera Attorney General. Ebesine yehu oral report no baby akwa kosie any investigations any probe ekoso yet we don't hear anything from Yera lawyer Martin Kpebu. Yantishin fan free ho. No pressure coming from your quarters. And no pressure coming from the oral quarters. They are not telling us anything about the state of Ora. Now no the tia cry say Ora no cry mother choir no. Some of the information about cranats view a garbage, a baller. Not just say Ghana for men for any to move. Somehow more psychic Ghana for your dream. So we shouldn't expect much from the Ora. But Ghana for GDN and Ghana for accountability or motion no. A Ora and the man Ghana for hopes no cost. Yet the members of the Ora committee are more access always sitting on radio and TV. Make us say dramatic but this time TV3. As usual, we'll put the fire, we'll stoke fire. And making sure they be demanding accountability. When are you going to demand accountability from the Attorney General? When are you going to demand accountability? Is it not surprising? Say after almost 10 months or 9 months, I'm handing over my report to the Attorney General. One to me and prosecute one. I can say ora na ye no krano. Ora prosecution 1 year. Why? Into me. But all of you mutane mo Ghana. Now mo de akwa kire Attorney General so special prosecutor so obi atene ne Ghana special prosecutor obi atene ne Ghana special prosecutor. Yes, more that right because mo ye Ghana for like I said. But ora for pa de enka ya was enka mo demand accountability and resource. Attorney General because when I'm them report na ekokoman we hu ye kakraka pa isi obese ene de kokoman so far e dey na afimu aba ye ntehwe entipenis away for nsa ya no ahwe wo so far as more criticize a demand more from the office of the special prosecutor said that many Ghanaians say demanding including myself no ye be person monfa mutu no so demanding more from the Attorney General because onu na ora for mo dem report to come no fidie yi abo a esiku bebia fidie yi abo ha ne gya no enti de mo de kwama no mo demand accountability na yehu afini na ekọ na wiye no yehu oral report no ehun nsem bia but don't try we shouldn't try some of them attention a special prosecutor so said ye be ya e besue Ghanaians attention from a Attorney General say bi na cheche de nante a wo nante anase adwuma yehu no we need to demand. Now yesterday me who be from Abrante Manasa Zuri. Catch Ghana forces stop patronizing the Attorney General. Because Nkrofo a normal criticize the office of the special prosecutor so monyahwe no. Or more patronize Attorney General no is also saying the same thing. Some of us Nkrofo di attempt because we are raising concerns about the performance of the Attorney General. But the generality, many Ghanaians don't see the way we see it. But I know it's just a matter of time. Ghana for arbitro, na arbitra no kwa, One who has Subeshipa. Ghana for broke you the oh, first month, 2 month, 3 month, 8 month, 9 month, 10 month, and our 11th month. Oh, December, Baba, Yanyasi from one. I feel na Ghana for be Brescia, say, Bisa Kwashi Senti, a call lunch, and natchez and one Gary. Enti Attorney General ora nani from next year going Uber Crawford Besha say, but some of us, you're 2 and who are chi papa. Now, I won't say much, but I know say the coming days and months, and Yama be there, dear Magana for you know where Ghanaians will channel their frustrations and their demands too when it comes to a year this fight against a year corruption and oral report on Ghana for who quarters are was some domo fire economy demanding accountability. Now, and talking about accountability, President John Dramani Mahama. Now, we said by this time, your uncrophobia bre 1 pp more. Ada se omu be dwane and also me dwane dada. Do benya kukudro so atena Ghana de. Ne ketepa ne king size bed ne menya sure so beda so ama na niekum. Sansa na watching President John Dramani Mahama say the 13th All African Games in 2023 ewo Ghana no. President Mahama say yenye nhwehwemu emfa expenditure sika hodo a omo expend ye. Na mo be kan a sa All African Games yi ebeda deja ema Ghana fo bebre raise concerns. Titro sports presenters obia kasa because no obia said de sika no chese ye tu sika guo nanso ye nhye da hu bibe papa bia efrimu eba organization very poor. The organization was very poor. Ekowi ase omu wie ye see volunteers omu akobo aye ema ye hu adwuma nyina kra no akitia kra ye ntia. Nanso kowe mu aye spend $245 million. $245 million. Ena ye the 13th All African Games a Ghana ye host here. Now out of this money, ye spend $195 million on infrastructure. $195 million dollars on infrastructure. Anna yes almost spend $48 million on operational costs. Almost spending $50 million on feeding. $15 million on feeding. And I'm spending about 4.5 or $4.8 million on accreditation, media accreditation tag. Ari the boy komo. And my Ghana for be bring who say no, I did ready baby wom. Ne ho be hia se be hwemu. President Mahama kase yenhwema yanka ka ye ho kakra. Parliamentary Select Committee then etna say omo kasa ye the then Minister for Youth and Sports appear before a Public Account Committee ekoyi nsembia no. But before no yentie yewra woyome ono now a ranking member Oko Parliamentary Select Committee on Sports no a ranking member the okaye ebra All African Games no expenditure and some beda deja
close to 240 plus or you're spending close to 240 plus or 245 million United States dollars, right? And out of this, we got to even know, for instance, key among them was a whooping amount of $15 million, which amounts or works to close to or a bit over 226 million Ghana cedis, being how much was used to feed athletes for 18 days for the event. So you realize that some of these things needed to be investigated. We wanted to know how many, athletes actually made it, how many actually got registered. In fact, we need to get a report generated by, for instance, the games management system, because the system must be able to tell us how many actually, registered and actually came to participate in the event. All these details we would want to know. Even the games management system itself, it's the cost of putting that together. And as to whether the standard we all know, or anytime we go to some of these events, either at the continental level, Commonwealth level, or at the Olympic level, you notice that if you are even a journalist, that is going to cover the event, the process you go through, even the accreditation process, and then your tag that is given, the quality tag that is given. And we didn't see any of this. But do you know how much we spent? As we were told, it's $4.5 million for that. And so what actually went into it?
$4.5 million. Yeah, the accreditation keke. Accreditation no yeah. A sheet of paper kitwe bi ne atro Sammy Hontor original TV. Na ya laminate ya de atoro abas ne anane keke ne de ato kom. A obi a wonim sesesi apa aka so koya accreditation kra eso kese a. One accreditation will not cost you more than 20 Ghana cedis. But yeah, the 4.5 million US at the time I offer 2023. Now your exchange rate was hovering around a year 16 a year Ghana cedis. So they just take just 16 times a year 4.5 million. 4.5 million. That's 72 million Ghana cedis. 72 million Ghana cedis the accreditation keke. Na dear ma Ghana for adwen ba so pa GBC. GBC and an official broadcaster. Omona na omoso muyi All African Games na Ghana for ni wiase nyina Africa for ba nyina no obi abeteki free from this All African Games 13th All African Games he host here. Yeti adwuma ne nyanko na wie ekra na GTV4 adwumafo no complaini so mala wasika wose etua ma mukra ne entua. Yankwati a Abansi was spending over $3 million and what the ma GBC. GBC forces come receive your crisis a new $150,000. But yanko nientie ebra Minister Mustafa Yusuf Eko PM of Parliament Select Committee. Now Honorable Sam George no Minister for Air Communication. Ebisa questions in regards to GBC, how much they pay to GBC, and then a response. Yentienra.
You had an arrangement with GBC to cover the All Africa Games, right? Can you share with this committee how much that coverage was for and whether payment has been made for same?
Yes, GBC was the official broadcaster for the African Games, the 13th African Games, and I can confirm that full payment have made to GBC.
Do you have per chance what the amount was?
I can't recall the exact amount, but I know that it's in the excess of $3 million US dollars.
You paid GBC
yes.
in excess of $3 million US dollars for coverage of the All Africa Games.
Yes.
Chairman, I think that I would rest here and maybe the next time GBC appears before us, because most of the technicians who worked on the All Africa Games have still not been paid. And so we wanted to ascertain if you have
Parliamentary Select Committee, Ebusebisa and Salmon in New York, the Bana, Yankwati then GBC, Director General, also Chess, Ricardo Dwyer, the man for coverage in how much money they received for Majuma Muye Yeno Yentie.
The benefit total payment to GBC's for GBC's benefit, I repeat, was $105,000 US, and that is what we got.
Now, but does GBC have any evidence to back what you're saying? Because I mean, the minister is the one in charge. He has made a statement.
Of course.
What evidence do we have?
We definitely have enough documentation. These monies are not paid in bags; they are paid through the bank, and they are indicated what the money is for. And before we do that, there's a letter we will receive from the ministry telling us whose payment it should be for. And so we don't act on our own, we act upon instructions. And that we have all the documentations, and we have everything in place to show that these monies, you see, public funds are not easily disbursed like that. GBC needs $3 million US to do a lot of things. And if we got the $3 million, we would have gone ahead to start spending on GBC's needs, including procuring an OB van. We didn't get that money.
Friends, Minister for Youth and Sports then say excess over $3 million. Just a scan of the man GBC no can borrow $3 million. What ye fano yem pegging at $3 million. Say $3 million no the man GTV said the okano. Nasika koto GTV and GBC for account for their service of render as a official broadcaster Edma the 13th All African Games. $105,000 USD. Okoti free mo etimisika omantimi amu ho akonta no $2,895,000 USD. Yantimi amu ho akonta amfa nchire obia. So don't take things that President Mahama's call for probe into this 13th All African Games expenditure no legit. I was here to shame. Because we move from Busumun Kuninku. MPP government so there when it comes to quantity surveyors, mo ya dear pa because in opposition anado me how much nanka was a kaswa interchange cost here, how much and was a rich hospital a cost here, how much and was a year circle interchange a cost here. And then you see the 145 million at the infrastructure. I did be crazy about man. And we can also quantity surveyors a what Ghana met me how much that facility a bit me a cost Ghana for. Now how come say Saligon ho no host no yesi e ko renovate keke. Na ye de ye enkrofo akwakoda ho no. Amount of money almost spending for renovation no is bigger than the money they spent to build the whole facility. Renovation cost no was bigger than the amount they spent to build the whole facility from foundation to finishing and finishing. And to women same Krofoya Mubeshie. Krofoya Meshie pa. Mustafa Yusuf Okofa National Service for issue noir. At that Attorney General by a press conference on the 13th of June 2025. He was the first person he mentioned his name, say or prosecuting. But as we speak, Attorney General Okoye Lester and also a prosecutor omo our National Service noir. And the number one suspect now obo nidin in June, describing as a criminal no Mustafa Yusuf nidin has been missing. Ayira June 13 this year. Attorney General Kase National Service or prosecuting nipa mako 12. Last 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a press conference, I feel also prosecuting nipa 10. 2 missing. The number one suspect obo nidin in June, which is Mustafa Yusuf. Na no obubo no Mustafa Yusuf din ka ho onkrofo prosecuting on ka ho maybe when you trade dim e wo ye ayeni na yenhwe baby a All African Games eye probe isu beko media me show wo me nka so ye kromfo me hwe wanimu a you don't look like obi o ye kromfo just say busa question as wu yi ano na ehwe body language no a body language dey na give you out a chance there's something behind as enye nyina na woka but that is it. I wish you all the best and I hope and pray. Say probe we beko na wie no na obi a niska. Probe we beko na wie na bibia a French said the beya mo betimi akwakoda ultra modern mansions ama building any the king size beds any we know the luxury finishing ama ye any mu fia kese no mo enjoy because nipa de usi dan no ama bed a kese o pre a no nya ba biada sa pepepe me penisa na mum san koba ni sa dia and then sawam single bed no you go there. I wish you the best. But before I'm paying for no, last 2 weeks public account committee also sat na omo copy ye e wo mani no eye ECG na omo share the amount of money ECG spend ye any approver management and our board approve said this amount of money na mo spend it. Now we share the actual expenditure ECG no. You ask yourself say a dear nekoso. But you know something? I will not blame the ECG because the penny say abuano say pra and I'm pra a profinity. So if the head of the government is corrupt, no any basa it will tackle down. We had the whole minister for health. Our sister Botnivi, what Timikra Nro. Our new parliamentary approval, be a man approver. What Timikra said in the buy, the then government did a lot of things and no approval from anywhere will be a dope. And TCG phone was so this is the terms for the day. And to be a BDIS when you be Yente Public Account Committee.
The head office, expenditure in excess of approved budget. It's extremely worrying. Now, before I refer you to the Attorney General for prosecution, let's go through some of these items. There were 13 items in your budget that you exceeded without any approval of the board. So let's go through these. You said you have foreign training of 31 million, but you spent 91 million. Why? And who approved that?
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. We will not try to just, we accept that we overstepped our boundaries. I think the most important thing is that we have put in place measures to control expenditure, to make sure that we stay within the budget.
You are the CEO, right?
Yes, sir.
This happened in 2023. 2023.
Yes.
This happened in 2023. And just like Honorable Abnao Siasari said, it's the way that you guys spend money at ECG. Another one, you said cleaning expenses. 2.8 million, that was your budget. But ECG spent 10.4. How many suits did you clean for that? Now, honorarium expenses, 3.8, but you spent 4.6. Hotel expenses, 9.3 million was your budget, but you spent 12.2. Staff fuel. Hey, did they drive around the world? Budget was 2.8, and you spent 3.6 million. Communication expenses, ECG. Your budget was 4.2, but you spent 7.9 million. Consultancy. Budget was 40 million, but you spent 58.6 million. All these you did it on your own without even board approval. Industrial relations. Your budget was 2 million, but you spent 13 million. Stakeholders' expenses. Your budget was 3.1 million. And you spent 49 million. And you want to increase our tariffs. Publicity. Your budget was 5.7, and you spent 21.8 million. Professional fees and subscription. $131,000 cedis, and you spent 1.5 million. Overseas travel expenses. You were supposed to spend 14 million, and you spent 29.8 million. Call center expenses. You were supposed to spend 23.5 million, you spent 29.3 million. So budget approval was for 144 million. You spent 333 million. That's excess of 189.2 million. This shows financial indiscipline. And the recommendation over here is that sanctions under Section 96 of the Public Financial Management Act 216, Act 921, should be applied to the officers involved. We also urge management to efficiently monitor and control the company's expenses. CEO, those managers who were involved, I'm recommending that they need to face.
Asefem emobo 2023 sika ya approve my ECG for some spending was offering in album 144 million Ghana cedis. And you approve the mom. But I think we no must spend 333 million Ghana cedis. So what strike here? It means ECG spend in excess over 189 million Ghana cedis, bigger than the approved eye figure de ma omo so omo spend na hwade bi o say call center expenses call center say ebi a obi light adum ana ECG for transformer bi ho abasem no afre ECG number ya be fra emfei sa omo number 0302 bibi 0666 bibi 666 some cancer number no a obe fra omo mfei call center expenditure ECG for 2023 is almost spending 23.5 million a year Ghana cedis. They ended up spending 29.3 million Ghana cedis on call center. ECG office is a war Ghana had do saying. ECG office is a war Ghana had to do saying. Call center expenditure any say publicity. Say ECG for some year publicity. Person man Ghana phone say yeah ECG for ya wo yeah juma. Budget to mucha was 5.7 million Ghana cedis. I think we no must spend 21.8 million Ghana cedis for publicity. Say ECG publicity be ni say e be a omba be dum light no ma issue press statement. So press statement in kwa mu issue you don't pay anything to media houses. Say be ECG for person yes omako radio. How many times now ECG for cry say omuti radio so na TV so omo yes sensitization publicity. How many times do you see ECG? But they spent 21.8 million Ghana cedis. Say stakeholder expenses. Say 3.1. They ended up 3.1 million. They ended up spending 49 million. Say stakeholder expenses. For what? Okofa professional fee and subscription from 731,000 to $1.5 million. Okofa say consultancy expenses. Consultancy 40 million. They ended up spending 58.6 million. Kofa communication expenses. Fiadio and ECG ewo publicity expenses, call center expenses, and then communication expenses. But that 3 items in your communication. These 3 items in your communication. Communication expenses almost spend the same. Consultant communication expenses almost 4.2 million. They ended up spending 7.9 million Ghana cedis. To me, patcho yensha de BCC afa phone yembo BCC. Also communication expenses was spending saying 7.9 million. So 7.9 plus and now over a year. Call center expenses was spending 29.3 plus 29.3. And now afi edebebio publicity was spending 21.8 million, 28.1 million. And to over ECG 2023, they spent 65.3 million Ghana cedis on communications alone. Communications alone. ECG spend this money. Staff fuel. Almost say almost a year 2.8 beto fuel ama staff. They ended up spending 7.9 million. Hotel expenses. So 9.3. They ended up spending 12.2. Hotel expenses. Honorarium. It just say obi too quiet the honor for we na 3.8 million. They ended up spending 4.6 million. Okofa cleaning expenses. Say ECG for so more proper. Why transform and asking more proper. And I'm office na more proper. Says can comedy cleaning. 2.8 million. They ended up spending 10.4 million. 10.4 million for cleaning. Keke. Okofa foreign training. Say a kwama no ye ko training ho. 31 million this guy approving more. They ended up spending 91 million Ghana cedis. Total expenditure no. I approve more 144. But the ECG spend the year 333 million. Amount of money ECG spent without any approval 189 million Ghana cedis. And I see 2023 and 2025. I na a public account committee edi ho adwuma. Do we Kpebu ba de samo bedwane wo dwane Mahama Dubek so all Ghana so ni Ghana obi anim. Na we ya can say RFS prosecution you see anything. You won't see anything thing. Abusiafo adwo madwa.
Enti Samuel Hontor, Sammy Hontor ena yete ne nka na wati ase na Samuel Hontor woni na notu Hontor kwa so akwa kosi sei last time hu se na notu eto no eyewo Sammy Hontor oba reply ana anyway media balance the manage home yeso so ntokwa so wati ase na mpanfo mienu na asamusi mu hu de mu be na mu be kodi a ye de be so anyway Samuel Hontor de say mini pa no anyway kind of kwaro obi a me penasem ifili ni pa ni kasa ni niye in fact na analysis o hwede ye nsema o kan ya ni bibia ye educative o chense ni mu a o the evidence to honom o ma hu the format a o ye den o kirew hwese de wasi a cheche ni mu efasa PDS ani ye ECG hu nsense bi in fact why de nti MPP for we no de yakopon ene eboye ho ban yakopon kwa eka ketremane je enka nkofo we eye den enka omuma asem toye enka nkofo we enka ombe chese enka ombe bogana omu suban omu niye anyhow ana omu si air run this country abusia how I know musi run this country na very serious no fanche me say moti noise bi wa kira baby amero sisia yakopon aye adom ensuo eto enti no kwasam ni say MPP for they can never rule this country anymore unless omu leaders no the current leadership of MPP must be what must be omu can say scrapped or say a promo in a free honum say ye until say MPP leadership no at this moment no ombeyo mu in a free this political MPP can never lead this country and make success. Omuntimi lead Ghana. Omuntimi lead Ghana. Enti I was saying, be careful with MPP for more lines. So you'll be na Samuel to one na you say and this are buying enkoye mawa abusia wo dada ho sen kan people for enomo aban mu Samuel ya enka Samuel kuro ma be biaskata ene hwese de omani mu ayedi enso kra to ewo mra yi kwan se eto am people for enso amu aban mu na enso nto se enso do edu tam se wo se eto na enso nto yemi say ho edu time say e was in so time na nso nye den ento adienti ana eba ne sa because na sabi ye won kofo mu die ni mo omundi nipa ho sabi ye won kofo mu die ni mo omumfa nipa enye hwe the only thing they can do is to what squander the only thing they can do is to spend Ghana yesika obetini nyafu Japade PDS na mesi nkofo we bebrebe ko jail end 2028 na mohu the number of people are no more serve MPP mu a omo ejina court a fast track omo case to court to what to prison to Isawom omuni ni eba abronya no ha ombe tibie hwe okurum ha abronye no ombe tibie nwe okroma because Ghana no enye obi ade o Ghana no sebi Kwame Nkrumah Ghana no odi ni moja odi ni nimdie odi na ho odin eje oman we yesi wo na people fo ngira benku na omu ngira nifa amodi ana mudi ye dia bo Kwame Nkrumah yina ni se na omu twitwa ni nenti eti ye fredi bi UP the old tradition of UP go and read it dankwa Dombo Buzia nanka party baako musi maame miensa ena enyim akwada baako how can this thing happen me mega miti hoyi maame miensa ntimi nyim ni mani ne yeda it is never happen na sebi papa baako so ana papa miensa ntimi ngu mega mani ne yeda enye den one man for one man enye den nipa baako ena ebe wo nipa baako enye den oba baako sebi ena ebe wo obi na se esi den na obeka se party ametimu party no yase ye Dombo yase ye Buzia any omokan say dankwa this kind of political party bad thing and on wait me appear for me well because the one madwimu ya hinye adidie an atuwe yem push agenda omomfa ho the kind of country they are serving omomfa ho eno muni ndia omodi ye den omodi ba boncha na se omo performance omo ye den omo ye but the only thing they know is to what to shift from one family to another family a family way na edi into the next family every family way na omo asase adan Ghana so omo japade bona fide property into this kind of people no can they rule this country. The only thing they are thinking of is sika ahini sika. And within the space of 8 years the kind of corruption across Ghana within the space of what 8 years abusia it is really sad. Say I can't see obi ntiase obi bedwin say akwa we onim de okeka akwa we ase onim de you see I very serious otena na adwen ho na bisa say NPP 40 so ye den na dollar eda 17 ye den na petrol 1 liter eda 25 cedis 23 cedis ye den na niema bo akoso. Have you ever sat down and think about this? No bisa ho say ye den NDC for buy ya within the space of what 10 good months omatimi kidnap dollar no aye dollar no ho adwuma amasi say dollar na ho odi agina omreko omumfa e-levy omunji e-levy omreko emission tax omreko betting tax sa tax ya mi bodi na nkofo eje enso na store na oman no nkoyi na things are hard bisa ho se denti e what ebamisa answer na be di mega atem na be hwemani na be ka chem say na make can you say bi no. Ask yourself these questions. If you ask yourself and you give and you get reasonable solutions, and it is up to you. And the MPP for when per mind is simple as that. Among Pagana ye, the only thing they want is to come and rule, steal, destroy, and what? Just loot. No more baby. Apart from that, among dress a gun and you be Jumaye, gun and you home hino, gun and you be call or Juma so you see a lot of things. They don't care about it. They only care about what? Their personal gains, their personal belongings, their selfish interest, and they will be looting the money as if there is no tomorrow, said by Honorable Kennedy Akompreko Ejapo. ATN kind of crime fancy and people for a bad day, says Sebi on with this kind of leadership. A bad day, send people for a baba. I was uncle for you with your money. Let me say I was a Stephen Ayensun team up to now. Onyam being an uncle say, I let her me enemy ma or Modiba Montiso, some are resign, say I'm not so off account. What in a numasem? Tell you, say now a body timupo, say party way dear, or no party or what's away day, or sending me. onyanko be kwa akɔdɔn party foforo but ɛyɛ mmerɛ eti abusua nsɛm deɛ bi wɔ hɔ yɛka sɛ yɛka a dagyeɛ ɛbɛbɔ yɛ kyerɛ w'adwene ɛwɔ comment section ma hanom remain sua #1 authentic platform mega tv nyankopɔn ɛnka wo bibia makra wo bye bye.